An undercover video provides new evidence for a 14-year-old yet still horrifying allegation that prisoners of conscience are killed for their organs in China, supplying the country's for-profit transplant market. As for the principal victims, they're mostly practitioners of the spiritual meditation discipline Falun Gong.
In this undercover video, a liver transplant doctor in China is boasting that he and his team can find the highest quality livers for transplant. This is the latest piece of evidence of forced organ harvesting in China. The video was released for the first time at a recent policy forum on Capitol Hill. It was filmed by Yu Ming, a Chinese Falun Gong practitioner who later escaped to the US. Falun Gong, also known as Falun Dafa, is a spiritual meditation system for the mind and body. After its introduction in 1992, it spread throughout China thanks to reports of improved health and moral character. But fearful of its widespread popularity, the Chinese Communist regime began to violently persecute the practice in 1999. In the 5-minute video, he is shown visiting a number of hospitals in Beijing, posing as a patient in need of a transplant. He secretly recorded his conversations with doctors and medical staffs. China's incredibly short wait times have been among the key reasons investigators believe forced organ harvesting is a reality in China. That's because patients can't just book a transplant, instead they have to wait for voluntary donors. More than 1,000 people die every year in the US while waiting for an organ each year. In general, wait times can stretch for months or even years. At the forum where the video was published, the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation released a new organ harvesting report. It states that before 2006, when Falun Gong practitioners made the first claims about forced organ removal, Chinese hospitals publicly advertised transplant wait times of 1 or 2 weeks. The doctor in the video says he has performed 500 or 600 operations. He also told the person undercover that they can get an organ from someone who practices Qigong or meditation, adding that they could even pick out the best one. The doctor said the quality of the organs is guaranteed by the armed police hospital in Beijing. He added that an organ has just arrived at the hospital that same day. The practice seems to be well known among patients. The video shows one liver transplant patient offering advice, saying that livers that come from people who meditate are best, and that patients can tell their doctor what they want. One U.S. official says they've known for decades about the practice. She pointed out that Falun Gong practitioners are particularly vulnerable targets thanks to their good health.
Indeed, there have been reports that patients requested Falun Gong practitioners, as you heard from Congressman Chris Smith explaining this, because the group's meditation practices supposedly made their organs healthier.
As a Falun Gong practitioner himself, Yu said he was imprisoned for a total of 12 years in China. During that time, he was blood tested on at least 3 occasions. During his first imprisonment, he went on a hunger strike. Yu's written account was read aloud at the forum, which he attended. Matthew Robertson, author of the Human Rights Report, translated Yu's experience.
While doing it, they said, "Don't you want to starve yourself to death? If your blood matches, we'll figure out a way to help you achieve that wish of yours. The spare parts in your body can even go to a good person as a contribution."
Yu explained that a few days later, he overheard the doctor saying either his blood test was bad or the match was bad, so his life was spared. According to Robertson's report, beginning in 2000, China's organ transplantation sector exploded. Thousands of transplant surgeons were trained, and hundreds of hospitals began offering routine transplants. The timeline coincides with the communist regime's persecution of Falun Gong, which started in July 1999. At the forum, New Jersey Congressman Chris Smith said it's easy to believe the acts are those of a few rogue doctors.
And that is not the case. This is mainstreamed by this Chinese government dictatorship. The fact is that there is a massive infrastructure, development of facilities, and medical personnel for organ transplant operations, often started before any voluntary donor system was even planned.
An independent tribunal in London confirmed the existence of these practices. According to China Tribunal's final judgment earlier this month, there's been a population of donors that Chinese hospitals have access to, and whose organs could be extracted on demand. The report said it was indeed Falun Gong practitioners who were used as a source, probably the principal source for the regime's long-term forced organ harvesting.
We, the tribunal members, are all certain, unanimously and sure beyond reasonable doubt, that in China, forced organ harvesting from prisoners of conscience has been practiced for a substantial period of time, involving a very substantial number of victims.
Panelists at the forum said the world can't continue turning a blind eye to it.
Newspapers have squelched stories or refused to correct misleading reports. Big human rights NGOs have said, in effect, we don't know anything about this.
My final words, it's inevitable that justice will prevail. However, it's our choice whether that happens sooner rather than later.